But we'll catch up, and we have a little bit of wiggle room at the end. I'm going to take just a few minutes to talk about what we're trying to accomplish today, and then turn it over to the people who you really came to see, I'm sure. We have two primary goals here for this forum. One is to provide information. There are alternatives out there to increasing the size and scope of government, the path that we've seen that we're on now in Montana and certainly nationally. Just because we have the money doesn't mean we should spend it. All right, it's the taxpayers' money, not the government's, and that's something that we want to re-inculcate into the populace, if you will. Too many syllables there, but anyway, we want to let people know, we want to remind them that it's their money, for crying out loud. And just because it's sitting in Helena doesn't mean that the government should figure out ways to spend it. Okay? The second thing, so we want to provide information. The second thing, we want to provide resources and tools to help back this agenda that's based on, and if you listen to me talk, if you look at our website, if you see anything we put in print, you're going to hear this over and over again, a recognition of personal freedom and personal responsibility, an expectation of personal responsibility, and a market or free enterprise approach to most policy problems. Government is not the avenue of first resort. In most cases, it's the avenue of last resort when we look at what's going on in society and how we solve our problems, personally or societal problems. So with that in mind, we're going to have three main areas. One is government transparency. That's part of it. We'll be concentrating on some of that a little bit more, and Sandra's going to talk more about that, as is Jonathan. Providing tools for citizens to watch their government in action. And what we're talking about is Google for Government, basically, a website where people can go to track spending, to track revenues, to look at contracts, to look at all this information. That makes it easy so you don't have to be an expert to try to find the information, and have visualization tools that make it clear, things that show trends and things like that. The second area we're concentrating on is fiscal accountability, tax and budget processes that provide for legitimate government needs, and there are legitimate government needs, that they also promote economic growth and achieve the desired ends. Two parts of this. One is a budgeting process that's based on objectives, state objectives, and performance, how well people or the agencies or whoever have done their job, base their budgets on objectives and performance rather than the system now, which is basically precedent, what happened last time, and whatever you add to it, whether it's desires, inflation, whatever else. Second part of fiscal accountability is taxing to promote economic growth and fairness while providing for proper government functions. And Barry and Jonathan are going to talk a lot more about that. The third area we're talking about today that intrinsically goes with accountability and responsibility and that sort of thing is property rights and environmental responsibility. That's very important in this state. So important it's written into our Constitution. So we've got PERC here, has graciously come to talk with us about measures that promote environmental responsibility without killing the economic engine that allows us to care about the environment. Rich countries care about the environment and take care of the environment. Poor countries do not, because they're taking care of feeding their bellies and things like that. If you look at where all the environment, or most of the environmental damage these days, it's not rich countries. Well, if you kill the economic engine that allows you to care about the environment, you're not going to have much in the way of environmental movement or environmentalism or taking care of it. And that's an important point. PERC makes a living making that point and coming up with practical ways of addressing it. Some admin stuff to get, so that's what we're going to be talking about. Admin stuff here in the morning. All the events are in the Capitol room. Thank goodness we got coffee. Saw a lot of dreary faces out there. I thought I was going to have a little mini riot on my hands. But we did get the coffee, and that's my fault. I don't know how I oversaw that. I'm a Navy guy. I live on coffee, and for some reason it didn't cross my mind. But we got it. Everything in the morning is open to the public, open to the media. I expect there will be some media here. And we're going to have basically presentations followed by brief Q&As. When you do the Q&A, we'll ask you to come up to that microphone there. I'm going to be getting up and down. I'm the man behind the curtain here with turning on microphones and turning them off and things like that. Just disregard that. If I could, I'll keep a low profile if I can. We're going to have lunch with Grover Norquist, who has come here to speak with us, and that's in the natatorium. So for folks who've paid for lunch in the program, that'll be over in the natatorium. You should have a little ticket if you've paid, or you think you've paid and you don't have a little ticket with a fork and spoon on it and a plate. It either came with your name tag or you should have gotten it separately. By the way, Tom back there and my wife Cindy are the ones running the registration table. Please thank them if you get a chance, because I owe her so much. It's going to be an expensive Christmas at the Graham house. Let's see. So if you do have a question or you don't have a ticket or something like that, please go to the registration table and talk to them. Afternoon events are limited to the presenters, the legislators, and legislative staff. And the reason for that, we're not trying to be exclusive here. There's no secrets or anything like that. But these are going to be workshops and panels. These are going to be practical tools and information, model legislation, and things that have worked and haven't worked in other states. And it's really geared towards trying to get the legislators in the audience the tools they need to take this ball and move it forward. The fiscal accountability, the transparency, and the environmental and property rights balls, get those things moving forward. So we really want to give them the opportunity to have one-on-one or small group sessions with the experts here to really find that stuff out. So that's why we're limiting it to the afternoon to legislators and legislative staff. Please thank our sponsors if you get a chance. There are some displays back there. I thought there would be more, and there probably will be. I think some people are showing up late here. If you get a chance, take a look at the back of the program. Those are most of our sponsors. We also have Montanans in Action as a sponsor. They came in after we printed the program. So if you see Bill or Ed Butcher or Travis, I don't think Travis is here, but if you see any of them around, thank them as well as the other sponsors we have. We could do this without them, but you'd be paying a lot more, and there'd probably be a lot fewer of you, and we wouldn't have the opportunity to really get the information out there to as wide an audience as we had without the sponsors. And so I really want to thank you folks for doing that. I also want to thank our speakers. We've got several of them up here, and then we've also got a few more that will be in the panels this afternoon. These folks come to us basically of their own free will. Montana in November, I wasn't making any guarantees on what they would find when they got here, because you just never know, and still they came probably with 3 different sets of clothes. And they're going to provide us a lot of good expertise on what's going on at the national level and that sort of thing. So finally, this is your forum. We're providing the stadium. Well, Red Lion's providing the stadium. We're providing the bats and balls, but you guys are the players, especially the legislators, but also the opinion leaders and the citizens who influence our legislators through writing letters, phone calls, whatever. We want to give you folks the tools and the backing and try to create the public support for what we hope you agree are the right things to do with transparency and fiscal accountability. We can't pass any legislation. We can't even endorse any legislation as a nonprofit, but we can provide the tools for you folks to go out there and make things happen, and that's what we're trying to do. We want to get you good information, good tools, good resources, and some motivation, frankly. You're not alone. I find I get phone calls almost every day. Certainly if I do like Dave Rye's radio show or something like that, I get several phone calls a day for several days after that from people thinking they're the only ones out there who think this way. When I say an expectation of the government should have a respect for freedom, an expectation of responsibility, and concentrate on market and free enterprise measures. I get phone calls from people who thought they were the only ones. And I look at my list and I give them 10 people, or I could give them 10 names in their neighborhood probably, or in their town or within 100 miles, which is a neighborhood in Montana, that there are out there. We're trying to create this community so we know that we're out there, provide a little bit of motivation, a little bit of backing of like-minded Montanans. So we've got the experts here to get you started. Let us know if there's more that we can provide as we go along. And the final request I have is that on the back of or inside your program, there's an evaluation sheet. Please carry that around with you today and fill that out so that we can make the next one even better than this. And let us know what you thought was good, what wasn't so good, what we could improve on, but also what you liked. That helps too, so that we know to do it again. All right, so without further ado, I'll do my first man behind the curtain thing. That wasn't too bad. We'll get going with the speakers. Michael Tanner will be our first speaker today. Mike's from the Cato Institute back east. His areas of research include a variety of domestic policies with emphasis on health care reform, social welfare policy, and Social Security. His most recent book, Leviathan on the Right, How Big Government Conservatism Brought Down the Republican Revolution, which is an interesting read. Mike also started Cato's project on Social Security Choice. That's widely considered the leading impetus for transforming the soon-to-be bankrupt system into private savings programs, so when you talk about private savings accounts. Time magazine called Michael one of the architects of private accounts movement, and Congressional Quarterly named him one of the nation's 5 most influential experts on Social Security. He has several other books. I encourage you to read his bio and take a look at them. I get